Ayman Khan here, 4 seconds out with the one and only windswept Nisse Sauerland. I was windswept myself actually coming into Brighton the other day, had my glasses knocked off my face, and we're hoping for some knockouts on Friday night too. Nisse, first of all, how are you doing, sir?
I'm just glad to see your glasses are back on. Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling good. Enjoying Brighton. I haven't been here in years. Reminiscing of old times. It's a great place.
Reminiscing of old times indeed, and Harlem Eubank has enlisted someone who Laps fans and fans of boxing right now will know very well, that being his uncle, Chris Eubank Sr. Do you feel that the added ingredient of Chris Eubank Sr. will be something that will really push Harlem Eubank forward and keep his name in people's minds post-fights?
I think it's... look, Eubank is like... it's a brand here, isn't it? It's like Coca-Cola. It's like bringing, well, let's say it's a higher end brand, right? Everyone knows Eubank in Brighton. It's getting people to come out. It's getting people to take notice of Harlem even more than they were before. You know, he was having very good viewing figures on Channel 5, up to 1.5 million reach on all UK audiences. So it's just it's a cherry on top sort of scenario.
I wonder if you kind of resonate with Harlem quite a bit, in the sense I know that obviously Harlem's not Eubank Senior's son, but he's the family member of, and you're walking the path that your father walked with your brother Kalla. And do you feel that kind of, as a fighter and someone who manages fighters' careers, you feel that Harlem's kind of gone about his career so far about as good as you can? He's not kind of irked or annoyed the hardcore boxing fans. He's been under the radar, but also kind of, you know, given the credibility to the Eubank name, carried it through, and is really trying to push that forward without any shortcuts, I guess.
Yes, I mean, he's flown under the radar. We signed him probably 2 years ago, got him quite busy, and you know, I've said it before, this is like his coming out party tomorrow night. His homecoming, perfect opponent, perfect title, perfect setting, hometown, big crowd, sold out hopefully, only a few tickets left. It's all the perfect ingredients. Now all he has to do is show up and put on a punch perfect performance.
In terms of Timo Schwarzkopf as the opponent, what do you feel he'll bring to the ring Friday night? And I believe as well, Robbie Davis Jr. was considered as an opponent too. Why did you go the route of Schwarzkopf as opposed to Davis Jr. in the ring?
I can't remember if Robbie Davis was actually considered. It might have been, might not have been. Whichever way, we considered it as a team. I know Timo. I know what he brings. I know the test he brings. And he is the correct test at this stage of his career. He's dangerous. He'll be there the full 12 rounds. And Harlem will need to work hard for in his first 12 rounder. It's the perfect test, perfect opponent. And I believe he'll come out with flying colours.
Senior has made no bones about this being his last fight at the weight and looking to move up to 147. The call out for Conor Benn has been made, has fallen slightly on deaf ears there, but do you feel that's a fight that can happen, you know, outside of the Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight happening? Do you feel that Harlem has a viable chance of clinching that fight with Conor?
Yeah, he's got a viable chance, of course. You can ask Conor tomorrow night. I believe he's coming. But look, at the same time, we're focused on Saturday. He has to put on a very good performance, very exciting, very entertaining. A lot of people are going to be watching. And from then, we'll regather and we'll plan our next steps.
Get your pick of the undercard, what we can expect from Friday night, and also just to highlight specifically Lon Richards, who's making his Wasserman debut. There was a pretty cool moment actually between Lon Richards and Chris Eubank Sr. and his father yesterday, where Senior was imparting some wisdom on him and was telling him, look, you need to talk. And that's kind of been a problem which he's had with other promoters. Do you feel like you'll be able to crack that code with Lon? Because there's the talent there, definitely, that's unquestionable, but him pushing himself a little bit more and coming out of his shell a little bit more hasn't quite happened just yet.
I do think that So it's a tricky one, isn't it? You don't want someone to be someone that they're not, and I think that can fall very flat on their face. There's a few fighters that I see out there now, and they're trying to dance and come in with all the bling bling on, and it's just not them, because they're actually they're not that way inclined. And I think if Lerone would go that route, talk and loudmouth, I think I like his style. He lets his boxing do the talking. I do think it's an angle, isn't it? It's we had Henry Masker back in the day, and my old man gave him a nickname of the gentleman. Or you had John Ruiz. He was the quiet man. So there's all different types of ways of branding a fighter. I'm calling it branding as a product, but a fighter needs to look at himself as a brand as well. Lerone's a world-class fighter. Understand that you need to also be an entertainer, but I'm hoping he's going to put in an entertaining performance on Saturday night.
A couple of other cards in the offing as well too. I want to touch on Josh Kelly. I did an interview with your Dennis Ugas, and this is before his recent fight with Mario Barras, and he said, I asked him if he was looking at any of the British fighters over here, and he was pointing out Josh Kelly specifically. So I was wondering if that was maybe a fight that you'd make in the future, but also in terms of Ugas.
Oh yes.
But also kind of Kelly getting back into prominence as well, and looking towards his next fight too.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a nice step up, and Knapp maybe not that known here. His family's actually from Sunderland, randomly, so he actually can fight. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be a decent scrap on December 16th. Ugas. I didn't know how to. Is it Ugas? Ugas.
You can go with either. Ugas.
Yeah.
Ugas.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what he brings to the table at the moment. Does he have a title?
No, he just lost to Barras.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's all good and well, but him saying he wants to fight Josh Kelly, but let's make us an offer, or we'll make you an offer at some point. But it's not exactly it's not exactly Ben Eubank, is it? There's not exactly a big history there. So I'd imagine it. We're on our own trajectory at the moment. WBO #1, IBO final eliminator. He's flying. He's probably taking the steps that he should have taken before he went for Avanesian. Hindsight's a beautiful thing. And I believe that we're going to have a complete fighter and a world champion next year.
Don't want to go over any old ground from your previous interview where I can, and you mentioned about Hrgovic, and you said that you'd be feeling like you'd be working with Hrgovic in the future, but there is this feeling that he might be a free agent right now. I wonder if you would find it, well, I imagine you would find it disappointing rather to lose Hrgovic if it is the case, being that he's so close to potentially having that world title fight that you've worked for.
No, I don't think it's a case of losing or not losing. And I'm not sure on the contractual situation at the moment. I know that my brother's been dealing with that with his advisor. It's a bit of a stalemate, really, isn't it? At the moment, it's the IBF made us fight Dempsey McKean. We fought him. We thought we were going to get the mandatory. Got dragged out again, and it's just a bit unfair on Philip and his career. It's been very stop-start. I hope they do the right thing soon and call the mandatory. To be honest, that's what I want.
Another fight that's been stop-start is the saga between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Could you provide the latest in terms of if that fight is close to being announced and where it will be held?
That's one mainly for my brother, but I will say that I do think it's close. I do think it'll be the UK, and I do think that fight has to happen. As I'm a fight fan, as I'm sure everyone who's watching and yourself, we all want that fight to happen. It's been too long in the making now. So yeah, fingers crossed it gets over the line, and we can be secure over Christmas that we've got a brilliant fight to start the new year off with.
Appreciate it's one for more for your brother, but could you answer potentially if the PBA is an option as to whether they would potentially license the fight should the British Boxing Board of Control choose not to?
Look, it's I hope the British Boxing Board of Control will sanction it. I'm not up to date on the ins and outs there. Would PBA be an option? The potential option, yes. But I think we all have to be agreed on who's doing what. So that'll be a nice negotiation.
Moving forward, I believe you said in your interview at the start with Joe Pugh from IFL, kind of like talking about the crossover fights and the shift that Fury versus Ngannou made in terms of fight sports and the way crossover stars are talked about. Boxing doesn't really know how to digest that performance from Tyson Fury and from Francis Ngannou. I wonder what your conclusions that you draw from Tyson's performances and Francis's performances in terms of their in-ring performances on that night.
I mean, I can go what I'm based. So I had Matty Harris sparring with Ngannou.
All right.
And Matty gave him more than he could probably handle in sparring, and that's only sparring. So what do I know, right? I was sadly doing the corner for Matty, bless him as well. But you could see in Ngannou that he could be an absolute handful. If you got this kid at like 18, 19, like a young Mike Tyson, and trained him up, he would be, he's got the genetics for it. I was surprised at the result at the fight and how close it was. I thought that I don't think Tyson took it seriously. I think he took it as part of his camp for December 23rd when he was meant to fight Usyk. I think he took his eye off the ball and didn't prepare like he usually prepares. But that's not to take anything away from Francis. I mean, it was a good performance. But again, people scream robbery, etc., etc. You got to score every single round. It's 10 fights in one fight. Yeah, every round counts. Yeah, so you got to score every round. Personally, I didn't watch it. I watched the highlights, so I can't comment on if it was a robbery, if it wasn't. But I just remind people to just break it down, score it 10-9, 10-8, 9-10. The proper way. But it was close by all accounts. I saw the knockdown, very impressive. Like I said, look, if you got that guy when he was young, you can make him into champion of the world. He's got the athleticism, he's got the grit up there, and he's got good hands.
One thing, again, it might be one for your brother, but I believe tomorrow will be the day in which the appeals are decided for the Misfits boxers who are launching appeals for their fights to be overturned. KSI versus Tommy Fury, and then also Logan Paul and Dillon Danis and KSI want their fights overturned in some form. Do you feel there's any possibility that those two get what they want and have their decisions overturned from their fights?
What do you start with? Danis against Logan Paul? Sure. I have no idea. It was madness. I don't know. I mean, he was laying down on the floor trying to pull guard. But at the same time, the security was up on the apron. So it's like, I don't know. But KSI, I've counted it. I've scored it. And, it's nip and tuck, right? 4-2 or 3-3, and then you have the point taken away. So I can only see one outcome, and that was KSI was the winner. It sounds, obviously we got to put our different hats on here. It's a 6-rounder. Would you appeal a 6-rounder with the board and ask them to rescore it? No, because you probably have a scoring ref. So it's a total different environment where we had 3 professional judges flown in with a track record, and there were multiple punches on the back of the head. Granted, he took 1 point off of that. I can't see how they scored it for Tommy Fury.
Do you think it gets overturned tomorrow?
I don't know. I have no idea. I hope it does.
We'll find out tomorrow, and we'll find out tomorrow for fight night as well. Harlem Eubank versus Timo Schwarzkopf. Nisse, pleasure. Thanks for being to Seconds Out, sir.
Thank you, man.